So now what we're going to do is we're going to check out these different battery types for voltage and current going into the motor here. And of course we'll start with my favorite lithium ion batteries. But let me show you what we've got hooked up here. So this meter is set up to measure amps, DC amps. This meter is set up to measure DC volts. There are two electrical parts that make up everything you need to get good operation from your motors: amps and volts. Together they make power. So you can't just have more voltage with the same amps, or more amps with a low voltage, or high voltage and low amps. You have to have a combination of the two. So in Ohm's law, power is equal to volts times amps. So if we have 8 volts and 500 milliamps, or 1.5 amps, we now have 4 watts of power going to the motors. So whenever you think about using batteries, if that's what your need is 4 watts, you have to use Ohm's law to calculate for what voltage do you have, what current you need. So I'll tell you something about how this is set up. So of course voltage is measured across the batteries. So you put your voltmeter plus or red terminal on the red part of the batteries, and you put your black wire from your voltmeter onto the black wire of the batteries. Very easy. And then you can measure voltage. So let's go ahead and do that. I have this white lead here connected to the red terminal on the voltmeter. And so we're going to connect that here. And then for the negative lead, I just put a jumper in the Arduino. Hard to see. I put a green wire jumper in the Arduino on the ground pin and hook that to the black lead of the voltmeter. So let's turn the batteries on, and voila, we have 8.38 volts. Okay. Now for measuring current, it's different. You have to put the ammeter or amp meter in series with the load and the battery. So what I mean by that is we take this, hard to see, we take this red lead from the batteries, and this is also where we're measuring voltage, and we connect one side of the ammeter. So this is the red terminal on the ammeter. We connect that to the batteries. So now the current from the batteries is going to go through this red lead over to the ammeter. It's going to come out the black terminal on the ammeter and go to the motors. So you can see this yellow clip lead here is connected to the black terminal of the ammeter. So when we turn on the motors using the control pins, we will be able to measure the current from the batteries to the motors. One last thing I need to do here, you can see I've soldered this red lead to the red terminal on the batteries, We're going to put this in here so that we can power the Arduino. And now we have enough wires all over the place, connected to enough different things that we're most likely going to blow ourselves up. With any luck, we won't blow ourselves up, and we'll be able to measure the current. So I'm going to double check to make sure none of these things that are dangling and hanging around, falling all over the place, are loose or touching each other. And I did find this one clip lead on the positive side of the ammeter a little loose. These look good. We're not shorting anything out. This looks good over here. We're plugged in. So let's turn on. Okay, we see we have 8.35 volts, but no amps. Well, we have maybe 50 milliamps. It's down in the noise. And that's because we haven't turned any of the motors on yet. So let's go ahead and turn one of the motors on. And now you can see our voltage dropped a little bit. And we're running almost 500 milliamps to the motors. So 8 volts, 500 milliamps, that's 4 watts to the motors. And I don't think it'll make any difference when we go in reverse. Well, maybe a little. The other side looks about the same. So, that's what we have with lithium-ion batteries. Now let's try some different batteries.